Hi, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about the huge opportunity in enterprise apps. Okay, the weather this week in England has been fantastic, right? We've had, it's been like San Diego weather, right? Every so often, it just reminds me of San Diego when we have like it's a warm day, sunny, we have a nice breeze coming through. Fantastic, right? And so this morning, I went to go to meet with a client this morning on a project I hope we get. And I thought on the way home, what I want to do is just sit and have lunch in a park and then do the video there so you guys can see that I'm not like always in the office, right? Although I'm there a lot, right? So, but if you could do me a favor, just try to pretend like there's a Overpass logo behind me, just, for old time's sake. Today I want to talk about enterprise apps. So, a lot of the work that we're doing lately, like client work, is for companies, right? It's not, your typical, I have an app idea I want to put on the app market kind of thing. It's more, stuff for, small or medium companies. Some of them are actually pretty big. They want to, something to, like a nice value add for their customers or something for their employees to improve processes and all this kind of stuff. And I think it's a really exciting opportunity. Like every time somebody tells me, oh, apps are dead, you can't make money from apps anymore, that's ridiculous. Like there's so much opportunity out there. This morning I got a call from somebody. It was somebody in the States. It was like 6:30. I was in the office and I was kind of surprised the phone rang. And I had a nice chat with somebody about their app idea. I gave him a few ballpark figures. He actually had two ideas, and I'm not going to tell you what the ideas were, but at a very high level, one of them was it was your typical app, so marketed towards a specific group of people, put it on the app store and hope to make a few dollars from each one or whatever, and then have enough users that you can actually make a profit. And the other one was like for companies, so it was like a subscription thing for companies and to be used internally, right? But not like we do, not like a client app, but more like a subscription based, so more passive income. Right. And towards the end of the call, he asked me, he said, Eric, of those two, which one do you like the best? And I said, and I usually don't say, because I don't validate people's opinions or their app ideas. That's just, because I've had loads of app ideas that people thought would be stupid and they actually turn out to be really good, right? Or, profitable anyway. So I don't usually answer it, but this time I did, because I thought about it. I said, that first idea you had, I could tell you have a lot of passion about it. And I know that it's, I could see that it's something you would really put your heart into. And I could see that's something that you would really, really love to do. And, I said, but that second idea that you have, I think that I like that one best because I think that would be more profitable. I think that's an underserved niche. And I'm not going to tell you what it was, but, it was, sort of like that. So, and it's one of these things where, the more I start thinking about it, the more I start thinking how much app opportunity there's out there for all of us app developers. Every time you see somebody pull out a clipboard and a piece of paper, that's an app opportunity, right? So, and it's whether they're taking a survey or whatever, right? For whatever reason, they're not using an app. They're still using pen and paper, and they're going back and they're keying it in on their system or whatever, right? They don't have GPS. They don't have, you can't, whatever. They can't have look up anything, whatever. And then there's loads of things like this where companies are starting to see this, and they're starting to see that their employees voluntarily carry around a computer that has the big mobile things, a GPS, a camera, Bluetooth, all these types of things, and they're carrying around voluntarily, and they can improve processes on almost like every company, right, if they're integrated properly. This is something that I'm really interested in. So, like every time somebody takes out a clipboard, I'm sure there's apps out there that do it, but for whatever reason, they're not using them. So it might be that they don't know about them, so they're not marketed properly, or they're too expensive, or they don't do exactly what they want to do. But you could see this on a day-to-day basis. You could see that there's opportunities out there, and I bet you could go into any company, small or medium or large, and say, this process can be improved with a mobile application or a website, but mobile application has the advantage that it can work offline and online and offline syncing. And, I know PWAs, and all that kind of stuff too, but but the apps just, they just work great. All right, so so I just wanted to kind of go through this a little bit today. I'm really excited about enterprise apps as the way forward. Like in the early days of the web. In the early days of the web, everybody wanted to get rich with like the .com. I'm going to become a millionaire with my .com website. And then we see a story about somebody in their garage, or like a teenager or somebody that could be us, and they make it huge, and that's what we hear about. We don't hear about the niche companies. A few years ago, we were called by a company that wanted us to look at events. They did like trade show events, or they had like one trade show, and they were using a software by a company. I can't remember what the name was. I think they were based in California. Which they do they do event apps for lots of different companies. That's their niche, right? And they're obviously doing it really well. They wanted to get something else because that company, apparently their support was terrible. The app didn't do everything they wanted it to do, and it was just expensive, right? So there was like this huge opportunity there, and we did some investigating on that, but in the end we didn't do anything with it. We just, financially we couldn't make it work, but there was a huge opportunity there. But I started looking at this company, and they had, and I could see all of their clients, because they would make apps for clients, but they would just put them on their own app store profile. So you go more by this developer, you see all the different event apps they did. Now obviously, because I knew how much they were charging, but from this other client, that I could tell, how much they were making. I thought, man, this is like, you wouldn't hear about this on the front page of the news, because it's too niche, right? They're making it as a profitable company because they're focusing on one segment, right? They're reaching out to a specific group of people, a specific group of companies, and they're also doing it subscription based. So unlike us, which we do client stuff, they're doing it subscription, so they have a passive income. This is something I'm going to start looking into a lot more. We have been looking into it a bit, but I think it's something that's really underserved and something we should all be looking into more. So anyway, that's it for today. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Talk to you guys tomorrow.